All right, good morning. Welcome to your final study guide preparation video. Hopefully you already have it all filled out, at least as best as you could, and you're not just writing this down as I talk. But if you are just writing this down as I talk, remember that you can pause the video to get your answers as you go. But again, hopefully you have already gone through and answered quite a few of this. So let's get started. So number one, it was asking, what are the 5 themes of geography with an example of each theme? So remember that our themes, to help you remember that, remember Mr. Help. All right, so as we go through, the first one is movement. So it's going to be the movement of goods, people, ideas from location to location. So things like how the iPhone has transferred from being kind of a gadget or gizmo that was held by the elite to now it's commonplace amongst everybody. It's also, you can look at migration from people to people. We looked at that for a whole unit, how we looked at movement across goods and ideas, right? All of that kind of stuff. Region, again, we're looking at how things are, a particular location or a particular area. So the United States, that's a region. North America, that's a region. Europe, that's a region, right? All of that kind of stuff all plays into region. HE is the next part of Mr. Help, and that's human environment and interaction. So it's looking at how do humans interact with the physical environment that they are given. So it's building a bridge over a river or some type of water system that allows them to be able to irrigate land, that kind of stuff. L is location, so that's a specific place on the planet. And then place is looking at the characteristics of what that place is like. So when it'd be like telling you it is St. Louis like explaining it. What are the characteristics? Well, it's hot in the summer, it's cold in the winter, yada, yada, yada. 2, absolute location, exact location of something specific. Relative location is giving you an idea of where that's at. So again, using St. Louis as our example, I could tell you that the absolute location would be, I think it's 30 degrees. I'm not entirely certain on the absolute, but I know that because you're looking at coordinates from latitude and longitude. But relative location would be able to tell you that it's west of Illinois, it's northeast Missouri, it's on the Mississippi River, it's south of Iowa, north of Texas. Like you can all kinds of areas that you can kind of give me the idea of where it's at. Cultural landscape is looking at how humans have interacted with that environment. So the Golden Gate Bridge would be a way of saying that's a cultural landscape. It's a way that the humans have interacted with their environment. Physical landscape is the actual Earth. Like it's looking at the fact that the San Francisco Bay empties into the Pacific Ocean right there at that spot. That's the physical landscape. Human geography is the study of human interaction and movement around the planet. It's pretty easy. Physical geography is how the Earth has changed over the time. So it's looking at like the erosion of the Grand Canyon from the Colorado River. That's physical geography. Explain the difference between absolute and relative location is question 8. Absolute's the exact spot, relative's the general area. 9. Which of the 5 themes would best be described by the development, distribution, and cultural diffusion of the iPhone? That's movement, because the iPhone is a good. It's a service. It's an idea going from location to location, person to person. As it moves out, that's movement. 10. The building of bridges, farms, hydroelectric power stations are all examples of which of our 5 themes of geography? Human environment and interaction. It's that how are humans working with the land and the area that they are in. 11. Looking at 2 areas that share similar characteristics and examining the similarities and differences of those 2 areas is which of our 5 themes? That's a region. It's looking at 2 areas and telling you how are they the same, how are they different. So it would be like looking at North America and Europe. How are they the same, how are they different? 12. The National Mall in Washington, D.C. contains the Lincoln Memorial, Washington Monument, and the United States Capitol Building. Is an example of which of our 5 themes? That's a place. Right? It's telling you characteristics about Washington, D.C., but it's not telling you exactly where it's at. So that makes it a place instead of a location. 13. What are some differences between physical and a political map? Physical is naturally found. Political is a human addition. I cannot walk up to the Canadian U.S. border and see a line that's going to say, oh, this is the border between them. I will see something that has been added there by humans, whether it be some type of a marker or some type of a fence or something like that. But if I'm looking at just the physical features of the Earth, then a fence is not part of that. 14. Provide example of a cultural landscape. So again, this is things like famous landmarks are going to be cultural landscapes. They're usually some type of interaction within the environment, some way humans have gone there. So famous landmarks, Eiffel Tower, Mount Rushmore in particular, because again, now you're using the physical features of the Earth, the fact that it's built into a mountain. 15, what are some positives and negatives about globalization? So it opens up the world to trade and culture, but also makes it harder for smaller nations and governments to compete in a world stage. So it really does have a double-sided effect. It allows for trade to happen between countries that may not actually interact with each other. It allows for culture to spread throughout the planet, and how you get things and how you can talk to people from around the world that you wouldn't have been able to do before. But unfortunately, it also makes things harder in that it makes smaller companies have to compete with corporations that are massive in size and can have ranges from multiple countries, multiple continents, and it makes it very hard for them to compete. 16, population geography. It's that study of human movement and how it has moved throughout the planet. Where did we start? We started in Africa, and how it has moved from Africa to Asia to Europe to the Americas to South America, like all of that movement. Crude birth rates, the number of live births per 1,000 people. Total fertility rate looks at the rate of production amongst fertile females. Remember, that's the key part of that. Crude birth rate looks at 1,000 people. The number of births per 1,000 people. That's 500 men. That can be 500 women that can't give birth. Like, it doesn't matter. It's still 1,000 people. The total fertility rate's looking at the people that can actually have children, like, fertile females. Whereas the crude death rate, that's just simple. It's the number of deaths per 1,000 people. An immigrant, someone that has moved into another country. Remember, immigrant with an I. Migration is that movement of people or a group from one person or from one location to another. Push-pull factors are things that are going to either bring a migrant to your location or push them away. So it can be a job, can be a pull factor where it pulls people in. Weather can be a push factor where it pushes people out. Hurricanes might push people away from Florida. Refugees, 23, migrants who are fleeing from some distressing event in their home country. Remember, there's a bunch of things that can cause a refugee to leave. Most of them are going to be about money. So economics is usually a big push in a direction. Step migration, that's the series of how migrants usually move, and that's the way that most migration does go. It moves in that series of small steps, so they go from living on a farm to moving to the village. When you get to the village, then you move to the small town. Once you get to where you've kind of been comfortable in the small town, now you move to that big city. Again, looking for economics and how you're trying to get to a comfortable area. 25, what is the difference between the crude birth rate and total fertility rate? Again, crude birth rate looks at the entire population. It doesn't account for the fact that there could be a significant portion of the population that can't have children, but they're still counted in that. Where total fertility rate looks at just the people that can actually have kids, which makes it a more accurate number. 26, what is the replacement total fertility rate necessary for a population to continue to grow? Has to be 2.0 or higher. Got to be able to at least replace mom and dad. 27, as life expectancy increases, what are some characteristics that a country should be experiencing? Better health care. That's the first and foremost that you're going to see. You have to be able to take care of the people that are there, and that includes better health care. Better education comes with that. And the last one's more industrialization, where life gets easier with industrialization. 28, we're looking at the pyramids as to how we have each one and what we would see. Remember that stage 1, there are no countries in stage 1 in the world. There just aren't. There are none. You can have some tribes that are like the Senegalese tribe that might have a high birth rate, high death rate. But for the most part, you're not going to have any country left on the planet that would be a stage 1, where you have both of them high. Stage 2 is where you still have that high birth rate, but you have a declining death rate, meaning that people are living longer. You're beginning to see modern medicine kind of evolve into their world. It causes rapid population growth because you're still pushing population. There's a lack of education opportunities for women, and that unfortunately, it pushes birth rates higher. Just they don't know about contraceptives. They don't know about taking care of things. Like, it just pushes things higher and higher and higher. It also comes in with modern medicine as well, that those things get higher and higher. Stage 3, we begin to add in the increase in medicine and the increase in education for women, the increase of contraceptives, and that birth rate begins to come down. We've also have now reached the part where people are living a lot longer, so your death rate is down as well as medicine has improved and improved. Stage 4 is where you're going to have both a low birth rate and a low death rate. Women don't have to have children. They choose to have children now. And you have a stable economy and you have stable modern medicine that allows for a population to continue to stabilize. So you're not going to see a lot of growth, but you're not going to see a whole lot of shrinkage either. Shrinkage comes in stage 5 when your declining birth rate is now at the point where you no longer reach that necessary level for replacement. And you are relying on either immigration for continued replacement or your population actually shrinks. 29, you're looking at which of those stages are you going to see a population grow rapidly. Remember, that's going to be stage 2. It's where you get a high birth rate, but people are living longer. That means your population gets growing and growing and growing. 30, what stage is going to see a population decline? That's stage 5. That's where, again, that birth rate has really bottomed out. Women only have children if they really, really want to. And you have the best healthcare in the world, and it allows people to live longer. So your population begins to decline. 31, at what stage will population growth slow down? That's stage 3. That's where you start to have that decline in birth rate, where some women are really beginning to see a opportunity to do other things than go and just be a baby factory. 32, what would be a likely cause of a population to move from stage 2 to stage 4? So where are we going to go from having high birth rate, declining death rate, to a low birth rate, low death rate? You're going to have better healthcare, better education, better industry. All 3 of those things have to improve before you're going to make that jump. 33, what was Thomas Malthus' theory on population growth? Remember, this was the guy that thought that population growth would outpace being able to have food production, and everybody eventually would just starve because we wouldn't be able to produce enough food to support a continually rapidly growing population. It differed from Esther Botherup, who argued that Malthus didn't account for human ingenuity and argued that that was the best thing that people could do because humans always find a way to survive and meet the needs of themselves. And that's what her argument was, is that the 2 of them were on opposite sides. They're not disagreeing, but what Malthus would say is that, oh, well, humans will just starve. Botherup says, no, we'll figure out a way to feed the planet. 35, what are some push factors that affect migration? War, healthcare, poor education, disease, like all things that are going to make you want to leave an area. Pull factors are the opposites. What are things that are going to make you want to go there? Good healthcare, good education, good housing, good climate, that kind of stuff. 37, how does most migration happen or move? Rural to urban. You go from living on a farm to living in the city. It provides more opportunities is the reason why. On a farm, my opportunities for economics are limited. In the city, it grows much, much bigger. 38, what is it called when migrants move from one location to another before settling? That's that step migration. Remember, it goes from small farm to rural to city to big city. And 39, describe chain migration. That's where one person is going to move in, and then they're successful, so they tell their friend moves, they're successful, so their friend moves, and then it just trains on itself, and it becomes what they call that chain migration, where one, and then they bring others after them, and they all follow the same path, and that is chain migration. All right, so I'm going to stop this video here. That is the end of page 1. Again, if you don't have it, go back, get it filled in. That way you can use it to study for your test on Friday. If you're missing anything, make sure it's turned in before Friday. After Friday or after Thursday, you're out. I'm not grading more stuff. I'm not adding more stuff. Your grade is what your grade is. I'll be back with part 2.